everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm Doreen Boltheis, and I'm your facilitator for this morning's panel. This is our third panel speaking about ministry and what it means to us to serve God in the various ways that we do in our church. And so thank you, panelists, for being with us, and we will introduce you all in just a moment. But before we begin, I would like to open with a very short word of prayer. God of creation, we know that you are with us in every moment. And so we ask that in these moments, you would be at work in and among us for your good purpose. In Jesus' name we ask it. Amen. Amen. Okay, I'd like to begin by introducing our panelists. And we have started at the end, Layla Linsmayer with Community Engagement, and Francis Allen, Hospitality, Bill Larson, Messy Church, and Mickey Huff, Episcopal Church Women, and we know that as ECW. And so to open, I would like to ask each of you to briefly just introduce your ministry and just in a few minutes talk about what you do and a little bit about maybe the mechanics, the purpose, and then we're going to go on to the deeper meaning of your experience and in ministry. So just introduce your ministry and kind of what you do.
Why, thank you. I actually am a little embarrassed because when Bill originally sent the note asking us to talk about our ministry, I thought, oh, I'm not part of a ministry. That's a very big word. I'm just me, and I'm a member of St. Michael's, yes, and I'm very grateful to be in a community of believers who are committed to following God's word. But in the community, I think, well, I'm just a community member. I don't have a community ministry. But I guess you could use that word. It's a very fancy word for, I just try to observe out in the community rather than keeping God just in the church. I think of God in the Bible going to the marketplace and meeting people where they gathered at the well or wherever they on the beach, or I know he's not here in the flesh on the beach, but I think God would be on the beach if he were here. So when I think about community engagement, I really look at it more as just being an observer and asking God to give us his eyes to see where can we as a church community serve our community as a whole and make people see that God is present everywhere and God is with us, and bring a little bit of his love and light out there and hope that people will see, yes, all are welcome here, all are valued. And so that's really what I consider the community ministry to be. It's just trying to get us more out there in a comfortable, inviting way.
That's lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Boy, after you said that, there's not a lot I can say.
Oh, you're so sorry.
About 6 weeks ago, Sue approached me to ask if I would take over being kitchen coordinator, which is a fancy name for somebody who just organizes the kitchen. Everybody knows it's brand new, and the equipment that Sue and her team purchased is a little intimidating. And very different than the equipment that we've had before. So I've been trying to put instructions next to every piece of equipment, learn how to use it myself, and to label all of the cabinets and rearrange things to make it easier for our ministries to use.
Thank you. Messy Church really is very closely related to community in that our purpose is to reach out to perhaps those who are not part of our family, definitely those who are not part of our family, but part of our community, to bring young people in and to bring even their parents in to show what a welcoming and loving place St. Michael's is, and just the fun joy of being part of this community. Right at the very beginning, when Sue started this program, Bill, the word messy got my attention just right away, because I'm good at that, as Debbie will attest. So right away, I participate because it's just plain fun, first of all. And what we do is, as far as my job description, is everything's all set up when I get here. I just come in and don my uniform, which is the official Messy Church apron, and put that on, and then go to the table to which I'm assigned, whatever the craft is or activity, and read the directions, and then play one of the games or paint one of the things myself, so I know what I'm doing when the kids come. And then when the kids and their parents come, they'll wander about and the kids will shop. It's not unlike Costco. Ooh, paints, that might, ooh, beads, look at that. Ooh, what's that? That's reading. I don't want to do reading, I want to do, you know. So the kids will shop around and see what they want to do. And then you have a little salesman, hey, come on over here, I've got a special on messy paints today, or whatever it is. And anyway, the kids will, it's just fun to watch them then get involved with the activity, get involved, and meet other kids, or maybe they come with their friends, and they just, anyway, they just get involved with their activity. And then the parent is usually watching them and getting involved too, and it's just building community. It's great fun. Thank you.
Thank you. And ECW, Episcopal Church Women. If you're a woman who attends St. Michael's, you are automatically a member of ECW, whether you know it or not. So we do a lot of things. Basically, Episcopal Church Women is I won't say handled, it's guided by the ECW board, which consists of about 10 chair people, president-elect, secretary-treasurer, and then some 6 more chairs of various committees. We host a luncheon once a month. For the last 2 years, we've done bring your own brown bag lunches, and the ladies really seem to love that. So we will probably be continuing for a while, except for our last meeting coming up. Barbara Menard is handling, and we're having a meal catered. So there are bulletins posted around. Keep it in mind because it's going to be quite an event. We're really looking forward to it. The different committees, we handle grants, which is done by the proceeds from Noah's Ark. Since Noah's Ark has now been closed for a couple of years, there's no grant money coming in. Therefore, our grants have been very limited, though we're still doing some. But ordinarily, it's quite a committee to be on, your own grants committee. I've been on ECW board for 6 years now. I am retiring at the end of this year because Barbara is the president-elect, but has asked me to stay on. Usually the outgoing president can stay on for another year just as a continuing position. We also do a brochure. Hopefully all you ladies got one in the mail. If you didn't, if you see me or Barbara, we'll make sure you get one. It lists all our programs for the year, all our speakers. So it's a joyful ministry. We enjoy working together, working with the parishioners, the ladies of St. Michael's.
Thank you.
Right. And if I might just say one other, occasionally, if they have a particularly interesting program, they will invite the men to join, particularly for the Captains for Clean Water and for the Jerusalem, Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem. So, Occasionally they allow the men in, but
And
we realize it's a ministry.
you're invited to the free food one.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
April 8th.
I'll make sure to publicize that, but I may show up.
Thank you. Well, hold on to that because you all can pass it around as you're ready to speak. Since one of really the primary objective this morning is to go beyond the mechanics of what we do to the deeper why we do what we do and the blessing of it for others and ourselves. So I'd like to ask for each panelist, what was the thing that motivated you personally to serve in this particular ministry, wherever you're involved? What was it for you individually that moved you to do this particular thing? And as you're ready to speak, just pass the microphone around.
For the choir, we're not deserving you.
No.
They're serving your music.
I feel like people come to church for a variety of reasons. Music would be one, the sermon would be another, the smell, the flowers. There are a lot of different things that draw people to church. Jack and I moved around a fair amount in our marriage, and so we did a lot of church shopping around the country. And so fellowship has always been really important to me. To make friends with a group of like-minded people who have the same values is very comforting, and actually a lot of my lifelong friends are people that I've met at churches around the country. So, and if anybody knows me, the Larsons, I love to cook. I love to have people to my house. There's nothing better to me than sharing a table of home-cooked food and talking and drinking wine till all hours. So it's just one of our great joys. So I've always loved kitchens. People always end up in the kitchen in their house, at a party. Especially these days. I mean, it used to be that the kitchen was hidden. Nobody went in the kitchen, unless whoever was doing the cooking. And now they're wide open. People are sitting at the counter and talking and watching you cook and pitching in. So I think this is sort of the lifeblood of a church, is the kitchen. I've even, at one in New York, I was in charge of redoing the entire kitchen, which I love. And it just makes people happy when they're here. So it's a joy.
Thank you.
I didn't finish explaining the mechanics of Ministry Church. I dwelt on the fun part with having the kids do their crafts. But after crafts, at a very specific time, we break for a little worship service or praise service. And usually it's Father Bill. He's maybe a song or a poem or a little game, a worshipful or a faith-based game. And then after that, about 15-minute worship, 20-minute worship, then we come back for a meal together. Whether it's hot dogs or pizza, or it's usually something simple, but it's an opportunity for everybody just to gather in community. Why do I do this? Well, I'm somewhat of an introvert myself, but to get out and meet people that are even showing some interest in what's this church thing all about, or what's this messy thing all about. These young people particularly, that's the future of the church. That's the future of our community. So if we can help them see the love of God, the nurturing of a loving community, that's why I do it, to help nurture whatever little bit that I can. So that's why I'm involved.
Thank you.
I think I do it because it helps me understand what goes on behind the scenes, more or less, in church. All the things that happen at each service of church don't just automatically just float down from wherever and they're there. It takes a village. It takes a lot of people in the background doing different things to make each service be really well received. So by serving in the different ministries, you learn all of those things. If you're in ECW, if you're in Altar Guild, if you're in Messy Church, if you're helping in the kitchen, it all comes together. And I think it's especially important for those of us who are not cradle Episcopalians, as they refer to us, because I kind of remember my confirmation classes. I was very young. But then some of us went through a stage where you were not attending church. God was always there, and you always said your prayers and those kind of things. But you didn't attend church, so you kind of, all that stuff you learned in confirmation class sort of faded into the background. Once you get back to being in a church situation and you know that, okay, I am a Christian, I do believe in God, I do say prayers, but I need that small group or that group at church to kind of support that and take care of that. So by doing, and how did I get into ECW? Someone said to me one day, your name has come up as possibly being secretary. We'd like for you to just come visit a meeting. Come to a meeting and see how it works. So I said, oh, okay, I'll come to a meeting. This was years ago. I got to the meeting and they said, we've been talking about it, we decided you'd be best a treasurer. No, I can't do that. I'm not an accountant. I can't be. Oh yes, you were in insurance with your husband, and you possibly, you dealt with figures, and you'll be good. Here's, go forth and be treasurer. So for 4 years, for 4 years. So, but it was fun. I did learn a lot, and I could do it. So, but nevertheless, join a ministry. You'll learn all kinds of things.
Community outreach. How did I get involved? I think God just put me in a position to have, personally, to have deep compassion for people who are out in a community and who may have an inner knowing of God and a relationship God with, but who are lacking a church community and would really benefit. And I on a personal level, experienced something that was very painful, and that was going to a church community and feeling the spirit of judgment within a church community in which everyone was not as welcome as other people because they weren't entitled to all the sacraments or offered all the sacraments of a child of God and of Jesus. And that is, we have a son who is gay, and we were, you felt the spirit of judgment, that there wasn't just one judge and jury. And so I personally walked around without a church home for a very long time on the island and longed to have community, but I thought, oh, God and I are good. I talk to God every day, I pray every day, I did my readings every day, and God never left me. But you know what, when different friends encouraged me to come to St. Michael's, and we did, I really did feel welcome, and I felt the spirit of judgment was not here. And I felt the love of God and the welcoming that all are equally loved by God and all are equally valued. And I look around me on Sanibel and I see a lot of people who, have the spirit of Christ in them or are seeking a light or have that. And I think all the more important reason that we go out where they are and let people know, look them in the eye and let them know, all are really welcome here. And because I personally received that, and it's, needless to say, it's so added to my comfort here on earth. God, as I say, God has always been present, but but having other humans in a community of believers has really just added to my peace and comfort and joy, and I want that for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for your comments. They certainly have touched me, and I think that they are certainly going to touch all of our listeners too. So next question, how has your ministry in this particular ministry that you're involved in, how has it deepened your own faith? In what ways? Ponder that.
I'll start, or we could just continue, I guess, for 1 second. It's deepened my faith in that I think when being in this community and praying about easing the burdens of others, for instance, you know, after a hurricane, everyone had so many burdens, and in COVID, so many burdens. And there's something very powerful, as the Bible says, about being in a community of believers, of like-minded people who really long to offer God's peace and comfort to others here on earth and have them get to know that peace. And as we've gone forth in the community, you know, whether it's through hospitality or Messy Church or, you know, having women gather for fortitude, I have personally seen people be very touched that are not members of St. Michael's. And that just knowing and seeing God working and through us has very much deepened my faith. Because, you know, a little thing, we had a 4th of July float, and we, as a committee, agreed on the theme of United in Love. And after the parade, and even months after, I had the t-shirt on. And I had people come up that were non-members who said, wow, I didn't know there was a church community on St. Michael's that really did feel that all people are welcome and that really practices, you know, that value system. I hadn't brought my children to church because I didn't want them to not be kind and equally value everyone. That is teaching the values of, I mean, but to have people come up when I was wearing the t-shirt and ask about that really meant a lot to me. And I thought, that's great. You know, I see God working. And they may or may not come this year or next year, but at least they know. You know, I think we're just planting seeds. Thank you. Thank you. Long answer, pardon.
No, that was wonderful. Thank you. As I mentioned before, I've only been in this position about 6 weeks, so I'm obviously very new. A couple of weeks ago, Sue asked if I would give a kitchen tour and explain how to use the equipment to groups after each service, and I thought, okay, that's fine, you know, 3 or 4 people will come. I was shocked. We had 20 people after the 10:30 service and 10 or 15 after the 5, and I was just blown away by people actually wanted to go into the kitchen and learn how to use the dishwasher. I mean, it just astounded me, and I was blown away by people's desire to make a community out of that kitchen. It's not a humble kitchen, it's a really nice kitchen. And so that touched me greatly, and I'm really happy to be here and happy to be doing it. It means a lot to me.
Thank you.
After each session of Messy Church, I try to reflect on, as I'm driving home or maybe a quiet moment after the activity period or whatever, I try to reflect on, well, what did I learn? Maybe about a particular individual or a particular craft or the way I handled something or the response that a child gave or that an adult gave. I just try to reflect on, to see what I can learn from that. And it's always that, you know, this is a good place. This God of ours loves us and is really making every effort he or she can to reach out to bring people into community. And that has strengthened my faith right there. And then as I've watched the numbers of Messy Church grow, I think the first time we did it, we had like 7 kids or something. And I think we had like well into the 40s or 50s, or maybe more than that, in recent sessions. And with their parents, why, we might have 50 or more people here. And I thought, something's happening good here, because a lot of people are showing up, the numbers are growing. So that strengthens my faith too. I'm on the right team.
Yes, you are.
So when I decided I needed to get back to a church many years ago, my husband was quite ill. So that was one reason that I needed to be back in a church. Not just trying to do it by myself, just me and God. I needed a support group. And so when I talk about introvert, when I first got here, I sat on that little pew that I still sit in today. Nolia Hunter was my pew mate, absolutely wonderful. She made me feel very welcome. But one day somebody got up and said, we need volunteers at Noah's Ark. So I thought, well, I could probably do that. You know, I don't really have to talk to anybody. I can just kind of go in. And so for 6 months, I think I steamed clothes. I did nothing else, you know, just that. But it gave me a support group that was unbelievable. Just doing that one day a week at Noah's Ark. Most of those people now have become really dear, loving friends, which is super nice, because by the time you get to my age, you know, to still have really close friends that you know you can call on or that will always support you is a true, true blessing. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to encourage you to think about a particular instance or person that you encountered in your ministry that moved you.
I think the way I survived 10 years of my husband's illness before he passed away, I always try to keep a sense of humor. You know, we have to have a sense of humor to survive in this world today. My sense of humor stories always tend to go back to Betty Mody's for some reason. Many years ago, oh my goodness, I don't know how many years ago, I was asked to take over the kitchen for Pat Jones, who was going to be away for the summer. So could I do it for the summer? I'm like, sure, you know, just got to make sure there's coffee and creamer and wine and all that good stuff. So the day came when I had to go buy wine for the Saturday night people. They get really upset if they don't have wine. So I'm off to Total Wine. And as I'm walking out, Betty Mody says, well, I'm almost out of altar wine. So if you don't mind, get altar wine as long as you're going. And I must have looked like, really? And she said, well, if you don't want to do it, I'll go myself. I said, no, but we buy the altar wine? And this was I'm not a prideful Episcopalian, and I've been away for quite a while. I was never involved in the other churches where I was. Anyway, she said, well, Mickey, where do you think we get the wine? I said, well, you really must know I thought the bishop had a vineyard, or it comes from someplace higher up. Surely we don't buy the alcohol. But she explained that wine is just wine until it's blessed by peace during the communion service. So that was my first lesson, of learning how to be at church again.
when I took the job, I thought, oh, okay, this is fine, this is great, this is not going to be too difficult, and blah, blah, blah. And I just walked into the kitchen one day to tidy up and see what was going on, and someone was here who had an experience in the kitchen and was very frustrated and really quite upset that it wasn't going the way that this person had hoped it would. And part of that, of course, is because it's professional equipment. It's not what people are used to. And, I chatted with this person for a while, and afterwards I thought, wow, this really is an important job, to make it easy for people, and they're trying to do something that makes other people so happy. So it needs to be a place that they're comfortable with. So that gave me a higher sense of purpose, I think.
Thank you. I don't really have just one encounter that's touched me about the importance of us going forth in the community. The truth is, I really have countless, almost every day this week, and I don't think it just touches me. I feel a collective credit and joy, because it's never an encounter that's directed at me personally, but I hope everybody at St. Michael's will really pause and realize particularly how we conducted ourselves after the hurricane has made such an impact in our community. And I get the goosebumps just thinking about it, because it's so powerful that as a community of believers that we understood and supported the rebuilding, particularly of that Noah's Ark space, and that we went forth and offered that space. I just saw Maria from Vish last night, and I mean, everywhere I go, people now say, oh my goodness, St. Michael's is such a valued member of our community. And they're not talking about just us serving us. I saw Richard Johnson last night. He said this, same thing. We did a little thing, Wendy in the prayer shawl ministry last week helped us drop off just a beautiful quilt that somebody had prepared, and we were able to, as a church, give that to a woman who has served our community at the rec center and is going through a very difficult health diagnosis with their wife, who's a lieutenant on our police force. The community center, the rec center, I walk in there, Andrea's glowing about, oh my gosh, the church has been such a helpful partner. Whenever we see a child or a family in need, we know we can call Sue and call the church, and you'll help support us meet that need. So, that was in a 3-day period. And so I just feel that how the church has gone forth and opening our doors, particularly a luminary, when the city couldn't do luminary, and I sent Sue an email, Sue, even if it's one candle and we offer it up as the spirit of luminary, we can do something. And, Sue was just terrific and said, yeah, we can. And made phone calls, and we did a little something. And sure, it wasn't the grand luminary, but it was a little light of Christ, a little, let's gather in the spirit of Christmas. And I think as a church, we've done those things. We've observed where people are hurting, where they need, and people are starting to see it. And I just feel that that's giving a little glimmer of God's light and love through our community. So anyway, it's been pretty cool to be part of it, to see that our church has served all those needs.
That is cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Any others? Your answers are so beautiful and really help us to grasp the ways that God is always at work, which we know in and among us. But describing those tangible moments helps us to see that we can be aware and always partner with God. And that helps all of us to develop that awareness so that we are partnering with God all the time. So thank you. Go ahead, Bill.
I was just going to say, one of the things that has that sticks with me is as we've seen repeat attenders come to Messy Church. The kids kind of get to know, maybe not by name, but the kids. So when you see them out on the island, whether it's at a restaurant or wherever it might be, and say, "Hi, how are you?" They kind of look at you like, "I should know you from something." There's something about you that, but they're always smiling when they say that, as opposed to, "Oh God, not him." But it's just, it's again, it's establishing relationships and a recognition, and there's some positive experience that I associate with that person.
Yeah, those are wonderful moments. Next, I'd like to open it to any questions that you might have for our panelists. Anything that you're wondering about?
Can I just say something?
You sure can.
Maybe
Let
it's
me give you the
directly a
microphone.
question. This gets me very excited.
Me too.
Gosh, I can get the camera. Thank you all for what you've said and for what you do. All this really ties together for me in terms of the church and people having what I would call a church experience. So those of us who have grown up going to church probably sort of naturally associate church with Sunday morning or with Saturday evening, where you come to a worship service and you sing and pray and hear the scriptures and hear a message and gather at the table to break the bread and share the cup. Profound experiences of God and God's presence and God's love. What we're talking about here is church experiences that go beyond just that Sunday morning experience, right? So that people are experiencing the church in whatever they might happen to be attending here at St. Michael's, and even experiencing the church out in the community. So we've been doing this thing on Tuesday afternoon where families, rather than having them stuck in the traffic trying to get off the island after school, are able to come here and are able to hang out, have homework. The parents can work if they want to, a little simple meal together, right? It's just rather than sitting in traffic, why aren't you at St. Michael's? And one of the volunteers I was sitting with, and we were sort of observing the room, and he said, a church member here at St. Michael's, "Do you think any of these people are going to come on Sunday morning?" And I said to him, "Probably not, but they're having a church experience. They're experiencing the church in this moment." Are those families from Messy Church going to come on Sunday morning? For the most likely, probably not. I mean, they're certainly welcome to, and they know it's there, but they're having a church experience. So what community engagement and parish life and all these things, I think, teach us is important is that we are building and practicing church experiences wherever we go, either whatever we're doing here at St. Michael's or out in the community, that are giving people a sense of the light and the love of God in their life. And that's really what it's all about. When people come to Noah's Ark, I want them to have a church experience in that it isn't just another thrift shop. This is Noah's Ark thrift shop at St. Michael's. And so they're going to have a sense of who we are and what we believe and how we treat one another as Christian people. When people come for a reception after a funeral or a memorial service, and the kitchen is active, and the women of the ECW are providing hospitality, people are getting a church experience in that, right? Food and fellowship and storytelling and all these kinds of things are giving an experience of who God is and who we are as God's people. So I just want to sort of add that, put that on there, especially for those of us who kind of think of church as that Sunday morning thing, which is wonderful. There are all these ways that we are the church in opening our doors to the community and then in bringing the church out everywhere that we go. So there you go. I get very excited by all of that. Oh, good heavens.
I love what you said, Bill, because we're called to go. And these are the ways in which we go. We think sometimes, oh, we have to go far away. No, this is how we go. Other questions? Comments, anyone?
Well, I just think that Barbara burst my bubble about the wine. Because I thought, like this morning, when Wendy gave a flask of water to Doug, and he put some in each chalice, and then he blessed it, I thought that's what became the wine.
Now you
Doug's
know.
turning water into wine.
Now I know.
Well, my goodness, somebody else didn't know either.
Before we conclude, are there any other questions?
I have a comment, it's not exactly a question. I think one of the increasingly unique aspects of St. Michael's is our community extends across the causeway to Shell Point, where we have a great number of members of St. Michael's. And I've noticed that people ask about non-members ask me and others about Shell Point, about St. Michael's. What are you doing there? And they seem to be very interested. Hopefully we can corral them in this direction.
Thank
It's a
you.
good observation.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I was just thinking about how many clergy I know who would give their eye teeth to hear what we've heard today here. I mean, this is what we went to seminary for, and you're doing it. Oh.
I love what you said, Doug, because it is beautiful. It's what God asks us of us, and to see it happening is just, as you said, beautiful. Any other questions? We have